Good evening, everyone. I'm Fahad.
And I'm Julian. Today we are excited to introduce to you a team of scientists from NUS researching on button mushrooms.
Button mushrooms are not only popular due to their taste, but also for their nutritional benefits. This research aims to share the differences between organic and inorganic varieties at the microbial level.
Specifically, their aim is to understand how different cultivation techniques impact the microbial communities within these mushrooms, focusing on whether organically grown mushrooms have a greater diversity of these beneficial bacteria.
To clarify, organic varieties must be grown without any synthetic pesticides, fertilizers, or additives. However, many lab-grown varieties do not meet this criteria.
It is also important to understand the role of these beneficial bacteria. They are microbes that promote health as opposed to the pathogenic strains that can cause illnesses. By analyzing these microbial profiles, the team hopes to help consumers make better and informed dietary choices.
Lastly, alpha diversity measures microbial species variety within a specific ecosystem, taking into account richness, the number of species, evenness, the distribution among species, and phylogenetic relatedness, how closely related the species are. In contrast, beta diversity compares species composition between ecosystems, also considering richness, evenness, and phylogenetic relatedness.
We're eager to share the results of the study as well as how it might influence the consumer's choices on button mushrooms.
So now, let's head over to Yanesh, the principal scientist leading this study.
Hi everyone, I'm excited to share the research done by our team on white button mushrooms here at the Happy Shroom Lab. As mentioned, we investigated whether organic and inorganic mushrooms harbored different bacteria, specifically focusing on whether organically grown ones have more beneficial bacteria and fewer disease-causing antibiotic-resistant ones. To do this, we use 16S rRNA sequencing to identify bacterial species and analyze their community composition within the mushrooms. This would eventually help us determine if the price difference between organic and inorganic mushrooms is justified by the associated microbial benefits. We hypothesized that the organically grown ones would show a more balanced bacterial ecosystem with greater abundance and diversity of beneficial bacteria alongside fewer pathogenic ones. Ultimately, our study aims to provide valuable insights into the microbial differences between organic and inorganic white button mushrooms to allow consumers like you to make more informed decisions when shopping for them.
Thanks, Ganesh. Now let's hear from Maxwell about the study's procedures.
Thanks for the introduction. To carry out the study, we purchased packs of organic and inorganic mushrooms from Fungo Organic and Bazaar. We would have preferred to obtain our samples from the same suppliers to limit differences in the growth conditions of the mushrooms, such as temperature and humidity, which could be confounding factors. Additionally, cost is important for consumers to consider. The organic mushrooms were 1.4 times more expensive than the organic mushrooms, so the cost-to-benefit ratio has to be analyzed to allow consumers to make better decisions. 6 trials of the sample collection occurred to ensure repeatability and consistency within the observed results. In each trial, the mushrooms were sourced from the same pack and the same sample collection procedures were carried out but conducted by different researchers. Although mushrooms are usually cooked, the microbiomes of the raw mushrooms are still important because of their paraprobiotic components. We can use the data we obtained to compare the microbiota of the button mushrooms and determine which has a more beneficial microbiome.
Wow, that sounds really intriguing. Next, we'll hear more from Neil to learn about his sample collection process.
Thank you, Julian. To continue our investigation, it is definitely pivotal to first obtain our samples. I will now give a little presentation showing how we did it. As mentioned prior, we chose the common white button mushroom, which were of the Fungo Organic and Pasa brand. Fungo Organics mushrooms are certified with the My Organic certification from Malaysia. Based on their regulations, Fungo Organic had to adhere to stringent organic growing methods, such as not using chemical pesticides and fungicides, use organic fertilizers, and grow the crops on land that has been free from pesticide use for minimally 3 years. Additionally, according to their website, they also utilize raw organic materials such as compost delivered from Holland, certified by Scout Biocontrol from the Netherlands, which aligns itself with the European Union's organic legislation. Additionally, they also grow their mushrooms on a USDA certified farm. Next, to minimize introducing other confounding variables, we kept some variables constant, such as the location we bought the mushrooms from, which was the NTUC Finest outlet at UTMRT. Both mushrooms were also sourced from Malaysia. The temperatures of the mushrooms were kept the same as each other from the time of purchase until the steps conducted at the laboratory, since they were both kept at the same chiller in store and incubated in the same fridge for the same duration. Finally, we also chose cling-wrapped mushrooms instead of modified air packaged ones, so as to reduce the influence of different air compositions on the microbiome. Now, to obtain the microbiome samples, we first labeled 12 falcon tubes. Odd-numbered tubes from B13 to B23 are for non-organic samples, while even-numbered tubes from B14 to 24 were allocated for organic samples. Each tube is then filled with 5 milliliters of PBS solution. After labeling, 6 mushrooms from each packet are taken and cubed. One mushroom is designated only one tube. Approximately 16 to 18 grams of the cubed mushroom is then placed into each falcon tube and shaken back and forth 10 times. The PBS mixture now containing the fungal microbiome is then decanted into Eppendorf tubes, ready for the next steps, which include PCR and nanopore sequencing.
This is such a fascinating study. Miguel, I heard the study encountered some troubles. Can you care to share with us?
Hello everyone. As a reviewer, I feel that this study has a lot of potential and the results could prove interesting. However, there are certain limitations the scientists have to take note of in order to draw accurate conclusions from their study. Firstly, as mentioned in the previous section, these mushrooms used in the study were not exposed to similar environments during production and shipping. Since these mushrooms were not grown in the same environment, some of the differences observed may be due to the environment rather than the farming method. Also, the mushrooms may pick up microbes due to cross-contamination during transport, which may lead to misleading results. Next, the criteria for determining if a food is organic differs based on country. In Singapore, there's no certifying body and we follow international guidelines set by the UN and the World Health Organization. Producers would have to obtain their certification from these overseas bodies. However, the criteria will differ between the regions. For example, under EU guidelines, only naturally derived pesticides may be used, but USDA guidelines allow for the use of some synthetic pesticides. This factor needs to be taken into account as organic mushrooms from the EU and the US might be grown differently, so their microbial profile will differ based on which certification it has. Hopefully, when interpreting these results, the scientists will consider these factors in order to be able to draw meaningful, accurate conclusions from their interesting study.
That concludes our insights from the research on button mushrooms. Seems like this knowledge will help to make consumers make better choices.
That's right, Farhan. Anyways, thanks for joining us. Stay informed and healthy. Until next time, this is Julian
And Farhan, signing off.
Wake up news, it's time to start the day. Catch the headlines, don't you stray. Breaking stories keep you in the know. Watch the news, watch the info flow.